go ahead and call this meeting to order. If we could please have a roll call.
Councilmember Jackson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Silva.
Present.
Mayor Villegas Walker.
Here.
Councilmember Cardenas.
Here.
And Councilmember Sanders.
Here.
If you could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation.
Thank you.
All right, ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to come together as representatives of the city of El Centro. Help us to be mindful in our deliberations. Help us to also remember the many, many blessings that are bestowed upon us, and to exercise good judgment and to leave this a better place than when we found it. And these things we ask in thy precious name. Amen. At this time, we have a very special recognition, and the City Council would ask that Haley Contreras please come forward. The city will be presenting to Haley a certificate of recognition for her outstanding reading accomplishment of setting the El Centro Elementary School District's record for the most accelerated reading points for the 2013-2014 school year. So, does somebody have a camera? Perfect. If I could ask council to come down, we're going to be right here to present this to Haley, and then Haley, we want to hear from you on this magnificent achievement, okay?
That's great.
Okay, yay, congratulations. So would you like to talk with us a little bit about where you go to school and how you make this? Yes.
Just take it off. Shoot, just hand it.
My name is Haley Contreras, and I am from McKinley
Haley.
Elementary School.
Haley,
Haley, turn around.
turn around this way.
Oh,
Face us, please.
face the camera.
This way. Haley,
Oh,
Haley, face this way. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
My name is Haley Contreras, and I'm from McKinley Elementary School. I'm 11 years old, and the only reason I wanted to read this year was because people said I couldn't read.
Amen.
They challenged me, and they said, Haley, we know you can't do it because of the goal I set last year. My goal last year was 18 AR points, and I was shunned and sad for that AR score. They challenged me, and they said, you could never do it. We know you can't even break 100. The average for the average sixth grader is 100 AR points. And as soon as I got to 200, they tried to usher me to stop. I said, no, you guys challenged me, now I will challenge myself. I got the help of Mr. Montano, who let me go to the Kennedy Library with Mr. Castillo's permission, and my mother helped me out with this. When I got to read more, I was happier from when I read. I started with Les Miserables, which was an excellent book to my taste. And then it came to War and Peace, which was such another good book. Don Quixote, another one. Atlas Shrugged. All the books I've read have inspired me to read even more, because the more I read, the happier I have.
It's Awesome. Well, I think we have probably a couple of comments and questions, so I'll start over here. Mr. Jackson?
I'm just really impressed by the caliber of books that you read, because I'm not even sure I've read some of those. But congratulations, and I think that I hope you continue this, and that's you're learning and not even knowing you're learning when you read. So it's a good way to get a broader understanding of the world and history and everything. So I commend you on your accomplishments, and I hope you continue down this road.
Thank you.
How old are you?
11.
I don't think I've ever seen an 11-year-old more mature, self-assured, articulate than you. You totally impress me. I forget the reading. Just your presence and the way you speak and the way how you say things and your confidence. It's totally amazing. I'm very, very impressed, Haley.
Because my motto is, if you feel like an adult, you will be a very great one when you're older.
Wow.
There we go.
You're going to be sitting here when you're very young.
That's what I've been planning to do.
That's 7 more years. We got to figure out our election cycles.
I know. She's been a blessing. She actually she was my guest on our Mardi Gras float, and she was able to ride on our Mardi Gras float, and then I was able to scoop her up and her mom because she was getting an award at Kennedy Middle School for Student of the Year. So I'm glad I was able to. I'm glad her mother was able to come here, and I also want to thank our mayor as well for recognizing her. But just so proud of her. Which one was your favorite book, or what is your favorite book?
Mine will always be Les Miserables, a very Signet classic.
And how many pages is in that book?
1,449 pages.
Okay. And so anyway, she's just awesome, and I'm just glad that she's coming from El Centro. I know that our chief's wife is the principal of McKinley, and so again, just very grateful and very, very proud of you. And not only that, but your mother. And if her mother can please just stand up, I want to recognize you as well, if I may, and just thank you so much. You raised an excellent daughter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes, Haley and I have known each other for some time now. Haley's my neighbor, and she comes over quite often and talk with me. And she and I have had very many wonderful conversations. So I want to congratulate you, Haley, and your mom as well. She came by and left a message with my husband and told me that this event was going to be occurring for her. He told her that I had this council meeting to attend and wouldn't be able to join her. Little did I know that Mr. Cardenas would make sure you were here. So I thank him for bringing you and your mom so that we could all glow in your wonderful, wonderful achievements. Congratulations, Haley.
Thank you.
I think that a love of reading is a lifelong gift, and I think that it absolutely is critical to be successful in life, to be successful in school, to be successful in your career. I want to echo the comments of my colleagues. You are the most poised young lady I think I have ever met, and I want to salute your mom, because I think that demonstrates some really outstanding parenting to instill that kind of drive and determination in such a remarkable young woman. So, congratulations, and thank you for being here this evening. Okay. I would hate to be the next person coming up after that. Let's see, it's the Chamber of Commerce. Do we have, I'm sorry. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind that.
I'm
We're gonna go back, and our city attorney, apologies, will report out on closed session.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On a motion by Councilmember Sanders, second by Councilmember Cardenas, the City Council met in closed session at 11:34 a.m. All council members were present. With regard to the pending litigation entitled City of El Centro et al. Versus David Lanier et al., and the case venue and number are on the agenda. A report was given for information only with no action to report. A report was given to the council on the anticipated litigation item. There is no action to report, but direction was given to staff. Council met with its labor relations negotiators, Ruben Duran, city manager, and Terry Brownlee, human resources director, concerning labor matters, and there is an agreement with water treatment plant operators coming out of closed session for approval. A direction was also given to staff with respect to other units, and closed session concluded at 12:35 p.m., and that concludes my report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments? Now we'll move forward with the Chamber of Commerce report.
All right. On behalf of Jaime Honnold, could not make it tonight, so I'm here in his place to report to you for the Chamber of Commerce of El Centro. We have
And I'm sorry, as a formality, just to make sure we pick it up in the minutes, if we could have your
Name.
name and address.
My name is Jeff Sturdivant.
Thank you. That's good.
We have our annual dinner coming up on the 19th of June. It's at 6 p.m. at the Barcelona Event Center. And we will be bringing in a new president, Mr. Les Smith. So you guys are all invited to that, of course. And outside of that, I don't have anything else to report other than I do have a plaque here. And on behalf of myself, the Chamber of Commerce, SCORE International, and its president, Roger Norman, the plaque reads, City of El Centro, for the valuable support received, decided leadership, and friendship shown during the organization of the first running of the SCORE International Imperial Valley 250. Really like to thank you guys. You guys jumped on board real early with this thing and supported us, and it made it so much easier going to other organizations knowing that the City of El Centro was behind it. And we look forward. We should have another announcement coming, possibly a second race this year, and then hopefully a 5-year moving forward with the 250. So I'd like to present you guys with this plaque.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sturdivant. Are we coming?
Sister Nivita, you are such a joy to have you come and do this for us.
And Haley, when I grow up, I hope I'm yours.
Chris, I did smile on that, seeing the Chargers. It was kind of like a laugh.
Okay, before we go too much further, so I don't forget this, could I have a motion to add the water treatment plant operator MOU?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Silva, second by Jackson to add. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 5-0. And we will add that and take action as item number 13. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Any items to be pulled from agenda items 2 through 8?
Mayor, I move for approval of consent agenda items 1, 2 through 8.
Second.
A motion by Silva, second by Cardenas, to approve items 2 through 8. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Abstained. Motion carries 5-0. Moving forward with agenda item number 9. This is adoption of the new California Building and Fire Code standards and the 2012 International Property Maintenance Code. Ms. Villacana.
Good afternoon. Actually, the acting building official will be making the presentation.
Yay, okay.
Good evening, council members, Honorable Mayor Walker. First, let me formally introduce myself. My name is Frank Soto. I am the Acting Assistant Community Development Director / Building Official. Tonight, I stand before you to talk about the adoption of the 2013 California Building Code and Fire Code, and in addition, the International Property Maintenance Code. Okay? As most of you already know, the California building codes are usually updated every 3 years. Starting January 1st of 2014, the latest additions took effect. Okay? The update to the California Energy Code will become effective July 1st. For some reason, they held that back.
They can't get them lined up?
I think. Okay. In general, there's really no significant changes to the building code, with the exception of the 2013 Energy Code. A few highlights from the new code. There are several changes to the strengthening requirements for seismic design criteria for new construction and alterations on the existing structures. These changes will help lessen the damage in the event of an earthquake. Here are some photos of some damaged earthquakes and previous earthquakes. Anybody remember that building in the bottom there?
Yes.
That's a county.
Yes.
Yep, county building. County
County
admin.
building.
That one up there is it's called the Imperial Valley Bakery, and it was damaged in an earthquake in 1915. I don't know where it was located.
Main Street. On Main Street.
Chapter 11 of the 2013 California Building Code has been reorganized so that it's consistent with state and federal regulations as far as ADA goes. Basically, so there won't be any, what's the word? Well, just, they made it compatible with each
Right.
other.
Excellent.
In the plumbing code, Appendix C was added to the new 2013 plumbing code. Okay, this appendix provides clarification of procedures for alternate plumbing systems that were not specifically covered in the previous code. I'm assuming such as septic systems, cesspools, that sort of thing. Okay. In the California Residential Code, all smoke alarm smoke detectors are now required to be equipped with a 10-year tamper-resistant battery, and that's to keep people from going up and taking out the battery. They do that mostly when they're cooking,
So these are on
Residential.
smoke alarms that we purchase. They're going to somehow come with a device that you can't open up the back.
Yes, that's correct, that's correct. It's going to have a
10-year
tamper-resistant battery. A lot of these, when we go out to do a lot of inspections, we notice that the tenants or the property owners take out the battery.
Right.
Because they go off, when they cook something, they burn something, they just take it upon themselves to remove the battery. And what good is a smoke detector without a battery if it doesn't have backup power anyway?
So what happens if you have a current smoke alarm that doesn't have the 10-year tamper-resistant battery?
Well, every 10 years, by law, every 10 years, smoke detectors should be replaced anyway. Okay. When we go out and do inspections now, if they have a smoke alarm, we really just grandfather it in. But we're thinking about maybe making them replace it when we do an inspection. Smoke alarms are now required to have a silence feature for nuisance activation, and that's basically when you're cooking and the thing starts going off. Well, there's a little button that you can press, and it'll silence it for about 15 minutes or so.
It's called the Cheryl Walker Cooking Clause.
The Energy Code. Okay, this is the code that has everybody terrified. Okay, the Energy Code. This code's going to require that all residential and commercial projects improve energy efficiency from the previous year by no less than 25% for residential and 30% for commercial. Okay, and the energy applies to all alterations and additions as well.
How is that measured? In like a reduction in the use of
Power?
power, or?
I believe it's an energy analysis that they do. Okay.
Who performs that? I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, no, I'm,
Who would perform that analysis?
There are individuals who do that. They go out, it's called Title 24. They'll do the analysis, and basically what they'll do is they'll pretty much dictate what kind of windows, what kind of insulation, and all that kind of stuff
Okay,
to
but-
go into the building. I'm sorry?
Appliances?
Appliances too as well, yes.
But-
HVAC systems and so forth.
But it says, if I may continue, Madam Mayor.
please.
Your second bullet there requires all residential and commercial projects to improve energy efficiency from previous years. Who are the, who, meaning City of El Centro, or who, meaning IID, or who, meaning what other agency will do the monitoring to ensure that this is in compliance?
Well, basically now when they submit plans, they have to have an energy
Oh, I
analysis
see. So this
included
is
in
for-
there.
would this be for new?
For new, yes, for new and existing, it applies to alterations and additions only.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now the green code addresses the issue of water conservation installations of plumbing fixtures such as toilets, urinals, sinks, and showers, and faucets, of course, okay? There's also a new law out there, State Bill 407, which requires non-compliant plumbing fixtures to be replaced by water-conserving fixtures when a property is undergoing alterations or improvements. So basically, the green code right now mandates that any fixture that you are putting into a new structure has to be water conservative type. SB 407 will require that any structure taken in alteration, an addition of some sort, would have to replace the existing non-compliant fixtures with what the green code is requiring. These repairs here will not trigger the SB 407, which basically is electrical service change out, HVAC change outs, re-roofs, sewer line replacement, siding or stucco work, side work, water heater replacement, window replacement, other repairs that's determined by the building official, and patios and carports will not trigger that requirement as well.
Water?
What about swimming pools?
No, they will not trigger that requirement.
Well, I think water heaters would.
I'm sorry, ma'am?
I would think water heaters would fall into a trigger.
No, water heaters, all they do is heat water. So
It doesn't? No, okay.
basically, they're looking for any additional square footage that's going to be added to an existing building. That's
Okay.
what basically will trigger this mandate there. Okay. The adoption of the 2000 International Property Maintenance Code. In addition to the adoption of the new state code, staff recommends that the City Council adopt the 2012 International Property Maintenance Code. Okay? Currently, the City of El Centro enforces the 1997 Uniform Housing Code. That code is outdated, it's no longer in print, and only applies to dwellings. And it does not reflect the most recent adopted California codes. Okay, the International Property Maintenance Code, unlike the Housing Code, is applicable to all occupancies, including residential and commercial. The adoption of the International Property Maintenance Code will provide the ability to enforce property maintenance requirements. Okay? The International Property Maintenance Code will be a valuable and more effective tool for code enforcement. Okay? Existing buildings are only required to meet codes in effect of the year of construction unless modified by an additional or alteration, or a change of occupancy is proposed. Some highlights of the codes are it's applicable to all occupancies, including commercial and residential, and it also includes empty lots. Okay. It also includes provisions for the transfer of ownership restrictions for outstanding code violations. It is compatible with the current adopted state codes. It places more responsibility on on the tenants of a structure, property or premises for sanitation, rodent harborage, and pest infestation. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to go back to that last one.
Uh-huh.
Places more responsibility on the tenants.
Mhm.
Some of our code enforcement, we've been looking at all kind of little pests, from cockroaches to others.
Uh-huh.
So what does this mean exactly?
This, basically, we get a lot of code enforcement complaints because the tenant complains that the building that they're occupying is infested with bed bugs,
Yeah.
cockroaches of some sort. Most of the time, these tenants are the cause of that infestation,
Right?
okay? They always want to put the blame on the property owner. And when most of the time, in fact, it is them that
So what does,
that causes the infestation.
oh, that's going to be interesting, I think, as we move forward. Wouldn't you suggest, Ms. Madam Mayor? That's going to be interesting as we move forward. Thank you.
You're welcome. Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
So I guess, you know, I see the recommendation, but I'm more concerned about staffing, and do we have the staff to enforce this? You know, I know, Mr. Soto, that you're a pretty busy individual, and if we do adopt this, the IMPC, what impact does that have in terms of staffing, and can we enforce these codes?
With the current staffing, we can. We're doing a good job as it is right now without the International Property Maintenance Code. Like I said, we do use the 1997 Housing Code, and it's pretty much, it's the same, pretty much the same, with the exception that this only applies to commercial buildings as well.
Okay. And then I guess my other question would be in terms of, you know, if there's been any legal challenges to the IMPC, and is that going to increase our litigation costs and potentially in enforcing this, or do you foresee any issues like that at all, Chris?
I don't anticipate anyone would challenge the state code, no.
Yeah. Now, do any of our other cities, have they adopted the IMPC? And I don't know if you can answer that, Mr. Soto, but do you know if any other cities have adopted the IMPC? And if not, do you know why there's been resistance to the adoption of this?
No, the cities in the Imperial Valley have not. The majority of the cities in California have. The
probably
bigger
just-
cities, Los
it's-
Angeles, San Diego, Riverside, Indio.
It's a timing issue for down here. They'll get to it.
So, I guess where I'm struggling, I mean, so is this something?
We should do?
Thank you.
Yes, we should.
Okay.
Yes, we should.
I think it's considered a best practice. The IPMC.
So if I'm hearing that we have the staffing to enforce it, and we're not going to deal with, you know, other legal challenges, then it's something that we should consider strongly. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Thank you, and I apologize for my novice on it.
No. Don't worry. Did you have any questions?
I don't have any questions as it relates to the adoption of the new code, but I do want to just take a minute to recognize Mr. Soto. When I reported to the council on those community meetings,
Yes.
Mr. Soto was there at every meeting. He made himself accessible, explained things thoroughly so that people could easily understand the complexity of some of the regulations that we have to deal with. So I just want to give him kudos because he did a terrific job. And
Thank
he
you.
was there at every meeting.
Thank you very much,
Excellent.
Mr. Silva.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson, any questions with regard to this?
No, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay.
No other questions.
I think we're ready to move forward with approval of ordinance number 14-10. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of El Centro repealing Chapter 7, Articles 1 through 17 of the City Code, and reenacting Chapter 7, Articles 1 through 18 of the City Code with a new Article 14, adopting the International Property Maintenance Code 2012 edition.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion by Jackson, second by Sanders. All in favor?
Aye.
No. Motion passes 5-0. Next, we look for approval of ordinance number 14-11, an ordinance of the City Council of City of El Centro amending Chapter 10, Article 3 of the El Centro City Code relating to a California Fire Code 2013 edition based on the International Fire Code 2012 edition.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Jackson, second by Sanders. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Mr. Soto, thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome. Good thing the little girl's gone, huh?
Okay, we're going to move forward now with item number 10, which is discussion necessary action regarding the approval of our 2014-2015 fiscal year budget. What's that?
Put it in this pocket. Isn't it,
Did Mr. Soto try to make off with the slight advancer, huh?
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Welcome to today's final workshop, budget workshop. Today we'll be presenting the city manager's balanced budget for fiscal year 2014-2015. And today's presentation will bring you the final budget. However, before we move into the numbers, I would like to review some of the changes and the upgrades made to the budget book. We made the budget basically experienced a budget transformation. We included several new schedules, narratives, statistical information to aid the user in when reviewing the City of El Centro's budget. Some of those upgrades they start with the first document in the budget, and that's the budget message. We expanded that document to include the more extensive review of the economy, local economy, challenges and priorities, and then major revenue sources and the challenges with each one of those revenue sources. Another section that we included in the budget is the mission statement, includes the mission statement, the vision statement for the city's strategic plan, and then summary information, which includes the map of the city of the Southern California, highlighting El Centro, profile of the city, major employers, and demographics. So a lot of new schedules. Some of the other things that are included in this new budget is the organization charts by department, by division. We have narratives for the budget process, all the procedures, and some of the procedures. For example, we have included a narrative for the budget development, the calendar from beginning, reviews, what are the procedures with regards to the budget, what are the procedures with regards to amendments, and then the basis of budgeting and accounting. We have a listing of all the funds with the descriptions and the respective account number at the front, so you can, for reference purposes. We have a summary narrative of the key revenue assumptions with regards to the major funds in the budget. We have updated schedules to include past 2 years' data. We currently, formerly had the information for 1 year. We have included 2 years, and now we're showing 3 years overall. That's revenues by categories, by source, expenditure summaries. We have also included new schedules where we show revenues and expenditures by fund, by division, by category for the past 3 years. Under the Authorized Personnel tab, we have included a narrative on salaries and benefits, which shows the history, the changes, the forecast for that. We also have a narrative for CalPERS and the retirement rates and future retirement rates and estimated cost. We also include two charts, one for salaries, which shows salaries and benefits for the past 5 years, and then retirement cost PERS for the past 5 years. Under the goals and objectives tab, you will see the service level indicators for each one of the divisions. Then we have a new section, city financial policies, that's towards the back. And basically what is included here is some of the major financial policies, such as Policy 301, which talks about the reserves, the budget, debt issuance, and review. We included the purchase policy, investment policy, fixed assets. So overall, the major financial policies. So when a reviewer is looking at our budget, they have everything in one place. The final section in the budget includes various schedules, and one of the main ones is the debt service. The debt service, it includes a listing of all the debt that the city has issued, all the bonds, but the year, the rate, what it was, the purpose, which fund is paying for it, as well as the terms. The listing of the debt also includes the amounts due at this point in time, how much is owed for each one of those bonds. In the remaining term. We include graphs, annual payments by function, by source, and then we also include the city's legal debt limit. This is, the city has a limit of up to 15, they can issue debt up to 15% of assessed valuation, so that calculation is included in the budget. We also include the GAN limit, and that's, you approve that on an annual basis, but now it will be here in this budget. Glossary of budget terms and index and resolution, and then finally what we will include with the budget is the resolution after the budget is adopted. So everything in one place. Okay. So that was the documents. Now with regards to the numbers, let's talk numbers now. The total city budget, all funds, is $90 million, $90,270,000, and it is allocated as follows. 50% is for operations, 37% is capital improvements, 11% is debt service, and then 2% is the solid waste contract. The percentages are here. These are the dollar amounts, the breakdown for the $90 million of total funds. With regards to the general fund, the budget is $29 million. And the allocations are as follows. We have 68% of the $29 million for salaries and benefits, then 14% is operations, 17% capital, and then 1% for OPEB. And the dollar amounts are included on the slide. Now for the general fund, the $29 million, where the money goes, basically it's allocated as follows. We have the biggest percentage, this garnet section here. Public safety at 54% is the highest allocation. The second allocation here is this yellow section, and that's public works at 20%. Normally this category is around 7%. However, next year it's 20% due to the one single project, the Crookshank, $4 million. The third category, the allocations, is general government at 11%, and then Parks and Rec at 10%, with the other ones at 3% and 1%, basically community development, blight elimination, and economic development. Now, with regards to the general fund balance, we are projecting an ending fund balance of $12 million. We have, as required by the city's financial policy, allocated for the various reserves and designations, the total amount of $12 million. We have allocated an allocation a reserve of 10% for contingency, $2.9 million, and then we have for accrued leave liability allocated $1.5 million. vehicle and major equipment, Crookshank, building replacement, revenue stabilization. Every one of those potential liabilities or future expenses has been allocated, designated a certain amount of money. I know this question has been asked before. For the building replacement, I went back and I checked, and the allocation last year was $1.5 million actually, so.
Thank you.
With regards to the enterprise funds and the two major enterprise funds being water and wastewater, we have allocated, we are projecting an ending working capital of $6.8 million. And again, the same way we did with the general fund, we have made various reserves and designations for potential liabilities. And we have the 10% reserve. We have a designation for accrued leave liability and vehicle and major equipment for a total amount of $4.8 million, with leaving $1.9 million of unreserved, undesignated for any other potential need. With regards to wastewater, we are projecting an ending fund working capital of $3.2 million. And again, we made the various reserves and designations in the amount of $2.5 million, leaving an undesignated unreserved of $795,000. However, it may seem low, but last year there was not, I don't think we had a sufficient amount to fulfill this one category, and there was no undesignated unreserved. So we're moving in the right direction with regards to the wastewater fund. With regards, moving on to capital, the budget for next year includes $33.6 million in capital, and it's the various functions are, for example, for public works, we have allocated $29.5 million. The major projects being within the wastewater improvements, wastewater improvements in the amount of $18.8 million. Then we have allocated $5.9 for street improvements, $4 million for the Crookshank project, and then sidewalks and miscellaneous bus shelter improvements. Out of the $33.6 million, we have allocated for parks and recreation $2.4 million. A major project here being the aquatic center at $1.9 million. Then we have $389,000 for Swarthout Park, snack bar, and parking lot improvements. And then various other allocations for the sports court, Gomez Park, some equipment, the community center, and then Sunflower Park. $1.5 million is for public safety allocation for capital, and that's fire and police. And the first one here being the feasibility study for the new police building. We also have an allocation of $531,400 for this category, this one, which is basically vehicles, patrol, K-9, general service, and then animal control officer vehicle. We also have allocations for safety equipment. This is police, this is fire. Total $377,000 for safety equipment. And then another major category under public safety is the $380,000 final payment for the fire engine. Then we have $259,000 for various departments. One of the items being the $80,000 for the feasibility study for the library building, and then some much needed IT infrastructure and software, $134,000, and most of it going towards the City Hall building. Then some additional computers for the library and equipment, various departments. With regards to new positions, next year's budget includes one position, and that's for the sports court, is the coordinator, sports court coordinator. Now, one of the things that we used in developing this budget, or that guided us with regards to the various allocations, is the city strategic plan. And we basically looked to see what our goals are within that strategic plan. And our strategic plan calls for improvements or goals within transportation and mobility, safe neighborhoods, recreation and lifelong learning, and then economic development and city beautification. And we're happy to say that we have met all of the goals in the city strategic plan, and as follows. For transportation and mobility, goal number one, the budget includes 7.9 million allocation. And again, I know I've gone over some of these, but that's what makes up the 7.9 million. The capital, 5.9 million in street improvements. For operations under street maintenance and lighting, 1.2 million. And then the sidewalk improvements and the bus shelter improvements, all of which add up to 7.9 million and meeting our transportation and mobility goal. With regards to safe neighborhoods, the allocation in the budget is 16.3 million, of which 14.8 is operations, and then for police and fire, and then capital, $1.5 million. And again, most of them being vehicles, file servers, safety equipment, and then the building needs assessment. We have met goal number 3 of the strategic plan, which calls for improvements in recreation and lifelong learning, and we have allocated $5.2 million. Operations, $2.8 million for parks and recreation and the library, and then we have a capital allocation of $2.3 million. Again, some of the major items being the aquatic center, park improvements, repaving of sidewalks, sports court equipment, and a feasibility study for the library building. We have met goal number 4 for city beautification, allocation of $110,000. We have 2 landscape and lighting districts, which total $49,000, and in the blight elimination division, which it has been allocated $60,405. Now, this budget was not without challenges, and some of those continue to future years. We have the challenges, and I know I've gone over this in the previous workshops, is the need for capital projects, and those are a new police building, a new library building, and the aquatic center. While we're starting the aquatic center, there's still some controversy with regards to the State Department of Finance and the monies. Also, once we build the aquatic center, thinking positive, we are faced with the operational cost to run the center. Also, one of the challenges that continues is the CalPERS increase in cost, which is estimated from $2.7 million to $3.1 million based on their latest valuation report that they provided to us. That's for the next 5 years. But in summary, we have a balanced budget that meets the city's strategic goals, and we have tried to meet most of the needs of the departments. Questions?
Okay, outstanding. Questions? Council, who would like to start? Mr. Silva.
Thank you, Letty, for a great presentation. And
Thank you.
throughout my work and my career, I see a lot of budgets, and yours are always easy to read, easy to follow, good numbers. They're always on the right side of the equation, and so my thanks to you.
Thank you.
I think that when we had our first budget workshop, I asked if we had received numbers yet, sales tax numbers for the last quarter of the year,
Yes.
and where do we stand?
I met with a consultant. We reviewed the results again for the quarter, for the year, and we get two numbers. We get the numbers. They call them unadjusted. It's basically the monies that came in, and based on that number, our increase was 8.54% for that quarter. However, adjusted after they back out any adjustments for previous periods, payments that came in that belong to previous period, the increase was 0.59%, 0.51%.
So
actually, 0.51 with just the city pool, and with everything is 1.18. So there was a slight increase, not a lot, but I believe it's pretty good, taking into consideration that we have the,
Mall in
the
Calexico.
facility in Calexico, right?
So is that increase smaller than previous years? Just from memory, so you can recall.
Okay, adjusted for last quarter, last year was 4.86 basically. So it is lower than last year,
Okay,
but not negative.
a negative, good.
Yes.
Letty, on the budget book that you gave us yesterday, just a question, if you look at page 54,
Under which tab?
Was sequential.
and it has the revenue summary,
By source?
so, just the number that caught my eye when I was browsing through this was the first line, the property value revenue. In 2013, just a little over $9 million. And then it significantly drops in 14 and 15. Do you know where that is coming from?
13 was 9 million, 14. It wasn't during the redevelopment issue. I believe that's what it was with the redevelopment, the elimination of the redevelopment agency and then just drop in property values.
Property
So that
value.
we're losing that much money by the loss of the RDAs? Wow.
Well, it may also, if I may, Madam Mayor, it may also due to, when we hit that recession, we haven't been able to climb out of that as far as foreclosures and et cetera. And as we went through that period, as you recall, property was devalued rather than saw an appreciation in value.
Right.
We
That's
lost-
a huge drop.
Yeah.
Right. Just for the general fund, in 2008, our revenues were $3.6 million from property taxes, and that's down to, I'm projecting for next year, $2.9 million.
Wow.
Just general fund.
And in spite of all that, we still have a balanced budget, so much.
I feel like we're always like the broken record, always telling you how great of a job you do. But again, I actually spent some time with our city manager this afternoon and reviewed some things too, and very well put together. Just a couple of questions I had was, could you clarify what goes into the transfers in and the transfers out?
For the transfers out, I believe it's 338,000.
What is that?
Basically, what that is a transfer over to OPEB, other post-employment benefits, the trust that we have. That's the annual required contribution. So that's the 300,000. 313. For the transfers in, the major item there is the $4 million being transferred in for the Crookshank project. Those are funds that we had designated or separated for another projects, and now we are going to use it for the Crookshank project. That was the $4 million out of the, I believe it's 5.4.
Yeah. Okay. The only other thing I have is just, I certainly appreciate your diligence in making sure we have money allocated to, things like our building fund and all of our reserve accounts that we need to fund. And I think that we're very much on track, and you do a great job of keeping us on track. So appreciate your work.
Thank you. Thank you for your direction.
I just have to echo our council members' comments on the success not only of you, but also your team when it comes to putting a balanced budget on time. It's an incredible task, and I do want to recognize not only yourself but your team. seeing those feasibility studies in there for not only our police station, but our library is super important. The K-9 units, I just, again, just very, very grateful, and especially the amount of money we're dedicating to Parks and Recs, all aligned with our strategic plan. I know that in our strategic plan, we talk about economic development, and that's important, and building a sustainable base, and I see that we are addressing it from a city beautification standpoint. We're doing an excellent job, and I just wanted to share, especially when it comes to some of our strategic partners like our film commission, and that we still consider supporting those organizations, especially coming on the eve of the filming of American Sniper and the $900,000 economic impact that they had exclusively to our city. I'm just hopeful that we can continue to support them and maybe consider even increasing the funding levels. I know both myself and Councilmember Jackson sit on the Film Commission, so we are watching and seeing kind of the coming attractions when it comes to economic benefit to our city. So again, I would just hope that maybe if there is room to consider increasing the funding level, especially to the Film Commission, just because, they have provided some economic impact. I would appreciate it. Other than that, very comprehensive budget, excellent job. But if there is any room in those areas, especially when it comes to our strategic partners, I would appreciate any consideration towards that.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wish to commend Ms. Salcido and her team, putting together a budget under certain dire economic issues. Uncertainty, I want to call it economic uncertainty, is not always an easy task. But what I found in this budget most advantageous, not only for me, but certainly I think for any lay person that might want to pick it up and look at it, is all the new schedules. It's very detailed, and they would know exactly where to go, exactly what to look for, especially in the areas of the categories and by projects. And I think that's going to be extremely helpful for individuals who may wish to come in and say, well, where did the money come from? How are you spending it? And is it being spent wisely? So, Madam Mayor, I think this is a good testament to our effort to be good stewards of the public's dollar and the public trust.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Salcido echoed the comments with regard to kudos to yourself and your staff for another outstanding job. I appreciate the improvements to the budget. I think it adds great transparency to the process. As Ms. Sanders was saying, I think the additional updates, the new information and schedules adds a layer of transparency that I think is very welcome. I do have some concerns with regard to the PERS forecast that can be found on page 92. I think that you highlighted that the increase could be somewhere between $2.7 and $3.1 million.
Right.
We see this escalation of rates from a fiscal year 2013-2014 for miscellaneous employees, accelerating from 9.2% to 17.6%
Yes.
by 2019, and for our public safety employees, the rate increasing from 53% to 68%. That in and of itself is alarming. But what is probably even more alarming to me is CalPERS having some kind of out-of-body experience, thinking that they're going to have a return on investment of 12% for fiscal year 2012-2013, and then 7.5% every year thereafter. That's not sustainable. It's not realistic. So if we think about a more realistic return on investment, what do you think the actual projected potential increase is? Because there is no way they're going to have a 7.5% earnings every year.
I know that some of the rates that we have been able to get are less than 1%, if we're lucky, 1%. LAIF is at 0.3, our CalTrust is 0.4 and 0.6. If you get into some of the riskiest investments, of course, your yield is higher. Now, what I do understand is that CalPERS has a wider variety of investments there into real estate, but then that's another. Exactly. I took this straight from their letter because I wanted for it to be there, disclosed, that these are the rates that they're projecting, and they're pretty high. They're going from, for example, safety 53 to 68, 69. That's if they get those rates. But in my estimation, that's very hard to do.
It's not realistic.
Not realistic, in my opinion as well. And what that says is that me trying to project and estimate into the future is that these rates are probably going to be a lot higher. Because they won't be able to meet those yields.
The other thing that I'm not sure that it's addressed anywhere is, not if, but when we're successful with the affiliation discussions with the hospital. Do we see that having any kind of an impact on the city of El Centro's budget? Any way, shape, or form?
Other than
Outside of the bonds?
We have detached so much of our operations from the hospital, I don't think that it's going to have a significant impact. Where if we into a full affiliation where it is not part of a city system, where we'll see a benefit is a reduction in risk.
Right.
And that has to do with liability. And that is an important aspect to this, because we're constantly, what you saw up here was addressing risk. I think you saw that in your working capital budgets, your fund balances. It's about managing risk, and I think that's what we get out of that. Where the hospital, it's a different stripe, and they handle risk. They have to handle risk differently, and that's why I think we're the last city operating hospitals.
I appreciate Mr. Cardenas' comments with regard to our strategic partners, but I also feel that we need to be mindful of areas where additional personnel, I think, are greatly needed, particularly in the area of parks and recreation. If I understand the way the budget is structured, we have built in a 4% increase in salaries for employees, all existing employees, but we've only added one new position. And I think that for a long, long time, we've asked our employees to do a whole lot of work and a greatly expanded set of duties and responsibilities, and not enough additional resources to do that. And so I'm wondering at what point can we start to say the economy's recovering, there's going to be additional workloads for all of our departments. So at what point do we see the opportunity to maybe starting to add some FTE?
The issue with a new position, it's an ongoing cost. So
Right.
and it is not a one-time cost. And as mentioned before, we have challenges in the budget. We have a major one being the CalPERS. We try to accommodate and meet the needs of the departments, but we're doing it little by little. The economy is getting better. That's not the point. It's still slow, but it's starting to get better. The problem is the increase in cost. CalPERS, that's not a discretionary expenditure. We have to meet it. When they raise the rates, when they increase our costs, we have to pay it. And so we have to meet that before we meet the need for new employees. But as soon as the budget allows us, or when the budget allows us, as in this case for this one position, we met that need. We know the sports court is opening, we need staff there, we realize that there's a need for Parks and Rec, but we can only meet that much this year.
If I may, there's a number of activities that occur within parks all year long. For
Right.
example, when we're not in this building's been used for Zumba classes and other activities with temporary employees, contractors, et cetera. And also this summer, we're using the Wilson facility. All of those individuals will be moving into the Harrison Building, the sports pavilion, and operating that. Where our goal for next year is to start to accumulate additional ongoing, actually setting aside additional ongoing revenues to handle the aquatic center. So we have already looked at it. That is got, because we're opening a facility, that is taking precedence over other issues. In the meantime, we've done a number of restructuring that has allowed us to continue the work. We're still $3 million below our 2007 budget.
Right.
So quite frankly, yes, we have stretched this budget extremely far, but we're also actually delivering more services than we ever did. But as we did with the fire department and got ready for that opening, our priority is to get ready for the opening of the aquatic center, because that's going to be a significantly higher cost, because we only operate the current aquatic center about 2.5 months, and we're looking to open it much longer. Now, it'll be open as long as we have, with the funds that we have, but the idea is to extend that out to a 10-month process, 10-month operations. But in the beginning, it may be 4 months, maybe 5 months. But we'll be starting to set aside funds, and that's going to compete with other desires for more individuals, because we want to have a longer operating time, more positions. So that's where we're at with that.
We have the competing priorities of finding a permanent location for the library. We need some major renovation, if not a brand-new police station. But the fact that we do not have a municipal pool and have not had our own municipal pool, I think continues to just absolutely weigh on each and every one of us every day, especially when it's 104 degrees outside. That has to be a priority, and we need to continue to do what we can to set aside the funding to get that built.
Yes, and if I can, on that point is, as you saw in last night's presentation, Ms. Connor provided you with that rather detailed schedule to indicate that that end date wasn't arbitrary. We literally, in 2 weeks, you're going to see the design contract, and just several weeks ago, we finally got the release of those bonds. I think there are still going to be challenges with all these projects. There may be even choices as we go forward, particularly on the last two projects, which are the police station and the library. We're looking for additional funding, but so is everyone else. So it will be a challenge. The good news is this council has been meeting almost all the challenges. In fact, it's hard to point out where you have fallen short, but it is always it's a full-time job meeting those needs.
The last question I have before I'll go back, because I think my colleagues have some follow-up questions. Are we displacing, by meeting here, are we displacing the Mostly Theater Company and their summer program? Do we know?
Their meeting, the last 2 years, they've been working out of Ballington, I believe.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You know, I again appreciate your leadership, Madam Mayor, and if I may make a suggestion and just encourage that economic development needs to be a priority. And, you know, true sustainable growth does not come in grants. It comes from economic development. And, you know, our city offers a variety of opportunities in terms of retail and stimulating our economy through sales tax. And so I just can't overemphasize how important economic development is. And so if we can really look at the efforts that's stimulating our economy, and that will maybe put less pressure on, you know, other revenue streams. I just really want to overemphasize how important economic development is to our community. You know, we're at the ribbon cutting at the, is it Togo's?
Togo's.
And every time I see a new business come to El Centro, it's so encouraging. And the turnout that we get, it's kind of twofold, because they're just like, isn't there anything else going on in this city?
No,
You know,
it's food. It has to do with food.
Right.
If it's going to be food, there's going to be people there.
But our city just offers, you know, so many opportunities for retail outlets. So economic development is just so important to me and to our community. And I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, I commend the staff for doing the best they can, and I certainly believe that. But if we were to look at the needs of a community that's growing, not necessarily growing in population, but growing as far as needs, we've tried to put online many, many different types of programs that would enhance the quality of life for our residents. So if we look at that and try to match that with the necessary staffing levels, there was, when one of our budget workshops, Ms. Salcido brought us the list of unfunded staffs and unfunded different
Positions, right.
positions and everything. So perhaps we could look at that again, not necessarily with this year, but in the coming year, within this next 12 months, revisit those staffing levels and see which one that can actually be met. And then ask those various departments how that would enhance their ability to deliver the service that the citizens have grown to expect and appreciate. I think that's the way we start. This is much like we're doing with setting aside money for the study for the library and the police department. I think it's going to have to be done in these kinds of stages in order for us to meet that. We all want, at least I do, let me speak for me, I want everything. This is a wish book, and for me, I would like to see everything accomplished. I know we can't do it. Is it unreasonable to meet? As you know, for ICTC, we call it the unmet needs. So I don't think it's an unmet need this year, but I think it can be reasonably met if we strategically plan for it over the next year or two and begin to revisit those staffing levels and try to have staff look at that in a more, and then have us sit down with them and the various department heads to see how we can work it out. I think it can be accomplished.
Well, I think it's a compliment to staff to know that in spite having a $3 million in revenue, less than 2007 was our highest year. In spite of all those challenges, we continue to have a balanced budget. We continue to increase services across our community and the quality of life that's so important to all our residents, and things that will look better. I do agree with Mr. Cardenas in terms of organizations that provide a return on investment. As we look at the list of organizations that are listed there on the side, can you put the screen up?
Oh, you saw that? That wasn't part of the presentation, but yes.
Okay, there you go.
I prepared it just in case there was some questions. Those are the contributions included in the budget.
Yeah.
And the
and I
various
think
organizations.
No, those are worthy organizations, and there's more. I think that if we had additional money, that we would, other organizations can also provide a return on investment. I think for the most part, maybe I can see maybe one exception that's more of a community event, but all the others, the Chamber, the Film Commission, the IBEDC, the SBDC, provide services that increase business opportunities for our residents, generate tax revenue. I don't know, it's hard to quantify if, what kind of return we're getting on investment, but I do believe that we're getting a return on the investment that we see there. So I would encourage the council to consider perhaps increasing the allocation to the IBEDC slightly, and I'd like to see the SBDC
Yes.
at the next cycle come in and give us a presentation over what services they are providing to the community. We used to get that regularly, and it hasn't gone, so it hasn't passed. And that's my comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. The economic development is really the driver of economy, and I think that, I've seen firsthand the benefits of IBDC's work in our community, their home offices in El Centro, a lot of the businesses that they have attracted, whether it be Chinese investment, EB5, that's all been a benefit to the city of El Centro. Recently, I met with some Chinese investors last week, along with our city manager and Tim Kelly and Sean Wilcock from IBDC. And apart from the townhouse project that they have that we've approved recently, that's going to go behind Target, we also have in the plans 2 office buildings that are going to be just north of the Lowe's building. So, there's a lot of things coming in the horizon. I think there's, obviously we benefit permit-wise, we benefit from property taxes and such. So I'd like to see the IVDC contribution be raised, and I could make this in a form of a motion if necessary, from 1,000 to 5,000. And in light of the recent successes of the Film Commission and their work, and a lot of that economic impact, I'm not sure the entire 900,000 was local, but I know a significant part of that was felt in the city of El Centro. I'd move to also increase that from 2,000 to 2,500.
I just want to weigh in here for a second. I think it's hard for us to quantify the direct benefit,
Yes.
right? We can say that we believe that there is a benefit from some of these organizations and what they do. It's hard for me sometimes to think, what is it that they do over and above that isn't naturally occurring or organic or a result of our staff or just who we are as being the county seat. I think it's also important for us to be very, very transparent with regard to the contributions, because we know that in addition to the contributions here, that council attendance at events sponsored by these organizations are also part of what I would consider to be contributions that the city makes to these organizations. I also think it's important that we be transparent with regard to our personal business dealings as a result of these organizations and what that means. And for example, IBEDC and their Renewable Energy Summit. If we were to increase our contribution, I think that attendance at that should be part of it, as opposed to in addition to. And I also think that if we are going to be sponsoring these individually as part of the council, that we need to make a very clear differentiation between our business interests and the city's interest. So for example, Rabobank, if they're a sponsor of the IBEDC Renewable Energy Summit, then I feel that if I attend, I should be wearing my Rabobank hat and not ask the city of El Centro to pay an additional amount for me to attend. And if I am going to ask them to pay, then I think that it needs to be disclosed and transparent. I just feel very, very
No, I
strongly.
agree. I mean, I think, certainly from a transparent point of view, that, I think what you're asking is it, how do you quantify, well, I think there's two separate things. I don't necessarily see the membership fee and supporting a dinner or a summit as the same, because the membership fee goes directly into their operational budget, and it helps them go to conferences, it helps them go out and recruit, it helps them promote the Imperial Valley or the city of El Centro. Whereas a lot of the fees that go directly into, and we have them too, dinners and conferences and summits, a lot of times we're lucky when we put on events like that we break even. So I don't know that there's a significant amount of profit dollars in say a $75 ticket for a dinner or a $250 membership, conference fee for a conference or whatever it may be, $325 or something. I don't know how much of that is cleared into profit and goes into, let's say, the operational side of the organization. What I'm looking at is the overall benefits that an organization like IVDC gives to the city of El Centro. Do we benefit some because we're the county seat? Sure, I don't discount that at all. Do we benefit some because a lot of the county and IID administration is here in our city? Of course, but I think when you look at a lot of the investments that have come into the city of El Centro, outside investments, I don't think anybody can deny that the largest beneficiary of outside financial investments into Imperial County, set aside solar and renewable energy, but business, retail, commercial has come to the city of El Centro. And I just feel that, for that to continue and to support that organization, I don't see an increase of $4,000 to be that great. I think at one time, and this is prior to me being on the council, the contribution from the city of El Centro was actually $10,000, and I think that was for several years. Obviously, during the recession, we tightened our belts, we cut that way back. I think, as Letitia says, the economy's turning a little bit. We're starting to see more interest in investment. And as recently as Friday, when a contingent of about 10 Chinese business investors from Dalian and Beijing were here looking specifically at the city of El Centro for potential investments. So again, I'd motion to increase that from 1,000 to 5,000 and the film commission from 2,000 to 2,500, and look for a second.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to speak to the motion. Well, I don't know, did
Well,
somebody?
I think that one of the things we need to look at, folks, and Marcella provided to us the IBEDC investment benefit, and this is where I'm really going. If we look at what we get as a bronze sponsor for $1,000 versus what we get as a gold, I don't see the return on investment having the City of El Centro added to the identification badges at IBEDC events, for example. I would rather say, you know what, we're going to support IBEDC events up to $5,000 in the next fiscal year, but that's going to take into account our attendance at the Renewable Energy Summit. It's going to take into account the annual dinner that they have, the annual investor dinner. So it's going to be $5,000, but it's not, I just don't see how we say identification badges really is where the rubber meets the road. I think that it would be much more beneficial if we say $5,000, but that's going to mean all of us are going to the events. We're sending staff to their events. We're sending staff out of town with Mr. Kelly, like you did last Thursday? Last
Tuesday.
Thursday. I think that's where we say, that's where we get the $5,000, as opposed to cash out of hand $5,000 plus all the little add-ons for us to attend their events.
Well, and I can't say I disagree with that. I mean, if we have events that we want to attend, certainly we're all capable of attending those, out of our own pocket if we feel that that's necessary. I attended last Tuesday a trip to Los Angeles on my own dime. Certainly didn't put in for any kind of reimbursement or any cost to the city, but I represented the city of El Centro while there. So, I think it's a personal commitment from each and every one of us that there are going to be times where we go and we represent our city. There's going to be events that we go to and that we attend that we do out of our own pocket, and I believe all of us have done that in the past. So, again, that's just my feeling, and I'd ask, see if my colleagues have a opinion or a second for my initial motion.
I will second that, and I'm separating the contribution that we give to IBEDC and the events. From my perspective, there's different. There's different value to each of them. I'm separating the $5,000 that Mr. Jackson is recommending as an overall sponsorship to make the operation better, to be able to represent El Centro better, to be able to bring business. And so I think that we will get a return. Conferences, I know you get individual value by the conferences that you go to through the seminars and so on and so forth. And I'm separating the two. That's why I will support the motion, and I actually second the motion.
The only discussion I have, and I work in a nonprofit, and all the money that I get is restricted. It's restricted for specific objectives. And what I would like to see, and I am in agreement with Councilmember Silva and Jackson, but I would like to restrict the money for El Centro dedicated activities. The fact that we're going to write them a check that's just going to go to their overhead or go to salaries, or the fact that it's unrestricted, I'm not comfortable with. And I would like to see that any money that we give, that it's restricted to El Centro activities. And I don't know what that looks like. I know what it looks like for me is when I write a grant and it says, and I ask for money, it says you will use this money specifically for these activities. And the fact that we are giving these organizations, whether it is the Film Commission or whatever organization, it doesn't appear, and again, I apologize if I'm wrong, but the fact that it's not restricted for specific activities concerns me. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if we just give them a check and we don't have a letter of understanding between both organizations. I strongly am in support of these organizations. I think it's important to our economic development. I can attest, from the filming American Sniper, that 3 hotels were filled up for 5 weeks. And production teams, Clint Eastwood's production teams is saying, hey, you know what, we appreciate Charlotte's support in helping us. We couldn't have done this without her. That to me is important, and that's the testament that I'm getting being representing the city on the Film Commission. So again, I am in support of both Councilmember Jackson and Mr. Silva, Councilmember Silva, but I would like to see some teeth in the money that we're giving to these organizations in form of some letter of understanding or something with some restrictions that this is going to benefit the city of El Centro. And those are my only comments, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, these issues are very difficult because we've faced them before. How do you go about making sure that your strategic partners actually understand that they are partners? Partnership does not always mean an exchange of funds, in my view. And all of the things that we've done, I noticed that Ms. Salcido had on the screen $33,000 for several companies that we had partnered with. One that I did not see there was the Joint Strike Fighter and the funds that we had contributed to that. So let's call all of these things out. We contributed for the Joint Strike Fighter, I think, wasn't it 20,000? So 20,000, so it's have $53,000. We equate that to an investment. We believe all of these things that we have made these contributions toward will be an investment and a return on our investment by either TOT tax and or sales tax. What I would like to see, and we've got a motion on the floor, and I'm speaking to the motion, Madam Mayor. What I would like to see us consider, and I'm not sure if the maker of the motion or the one that seconded it would even think about an amendment. If this is something we really want to do, Ms. Salcido said this quarter would be coming up, and we would see exactly what funds may have been coming through as a result of the American Sniper being here, SCORE being here, and how much of those dollars would wind its way through and actually be to us through either sales tax, TOT tax. And
Well,
a budget can be amended throughout any portion of that budget year, if we truly wish to do this.
I think we went through that discussion, I think specifically when we talked about the $25,000 for the SCORE race, that there
Yes.
was no way that through TOT
that we were gonna
and
get it.
sales tax and anything else that we would come anywhere close to a return on investment.
That is correct.
Correct.
And I think Mr. Cardenas makes a valid point. If it's going to be given, can there be any kind of assurance that that benefit would actually have a residual effect in the city of El Centro? I don't know that we can, I don't know how we can identify that.
How we quantify that.
Yes.
The other question I have is, when we give sponsorship dollars, do we ask for audited financial statements, or do we look at, let's
We
say,
did
let's
from the Film
pick
Commission.
organization XYZ. If we look at, they have this ginormous revenue stream coming in, and their expense categories. Do we make an evaluation?
I don't think we have,
Well,
at least not
over
my
the-
department.
If I may, Madam Mayor, if I may, I don't mean to cut staff off because they probably have a much better understanding. But a couple of years ago, we did that with the Film Commission. They used to come in and bring their information in. So I would think that that has been done in the past.
Well, I know, for example, the Chamber of Commerce, on a monthly basis, makes their financials available. And as you sit in on the chamber meetings, you see exactly where their revenue and expense numbers are. At the Film Commission, do they discuss?
Yes, and I mean, and I'm speaking in regards to the Film Commission. There's minutes, there's certified financials, there's approval of financials. Those are all discussed quarterly at our meetings when it comes to the Film Commission.
I don't know about IVDC, but I think, Ruben, you sat on that board for a while. Did they?
Yes.
I think they do it on a monthly basis.
And it's been a number of years since I've been on that board. But and I asked Tom Tapousas, I ran across him. He's off the board now, but he was on a year ago. They still do every month they review all the financials. They have financial reports that come out. But he was also part of the group when I was on there rewriting the bylaws. And the bylaws is what lays out the membership. So when you buy into the membership, you get under their bylaws, you're getting exactly what's on the list that you received from Ms. Piedra. There are organizations that buy above the 10,000 and they're actually into contracts with other things, but that's above those membership levels. It's not within those membership levels. The membership is getting that investment into that organization at those levels. For example, the city of Brawley, at least last year, was up at 60,000, so they're at 10, plus they had another 50,000, but they rely on IVDC to do other work for them. And so that's why they have one membership, but then they have a separate contract above that for that membership once you get into the upper numbers. So he wasn't sure that within their bylaws, 'cause that's why I went back to, because he would help writing them, whether or not they would break out a specialty contract on a $5,000 or $10,000 membership. Once you get above that platinum level, they may have some ability to do that. Otherwise, because they have, by the way, IVDC services the $1,000 member and the $25,000 member. They're very good. I think what you're looking at is, do you feel that there's an institutional investment that you want to make in any one of these organizations? We've gone through this over the years. Same thing with the chamber. We're a silver member, and we think that's the value we should be at. Clearly, we could be in, I think, if we enter at the lowest level, it's $160 for governmental. But we've chosen that we're going to have an investment of silver level. We used to be a gold, but we had to back down because of the recession. So this really is a policy issue of what you believe your investment levels should be with any one of these organizations. Now, the other ones that are up there, the Freedom Fest, in the past we've asked for
We've got their financials.
and they're having to reboot this, I'm sorry. But you can see there are very few things that we sponsor. It's the other way around. We get sponsorships, and as you've seen, Ms. Connors, we laid that out very carefully. The El Grito is a good example where we lay out, here's what Council's going to do, and here's what we're going to do. But typically, the sponsorships are coming to us, not the other way around.
Well,
Can
you
we
know-
get the audited financials from IVDC?
I wouldn't know why not.
No, I think they need to be online.
You know, I just want to also add that, you know, besides all the things I was just talking about as far as direct impact to the city of El Centro, you know, most of these projects that we've seen throughout our county as far as solar and wind, the working on geothermal, how many of those jobs are direct jobs to our citizens? And I think that, you know, I don't think there's anybody that would not indicate the importance and the value of IVDC's efforts in bringing the renewable energy industry to Imperial County. So apart and way beyond the actual direct impact as far as where their office is located and EB5 projects from the Chinese government and the town center and such, think about all the members of our community that are employed with these projects that IVDC's certainly had their fingerprints on. So, you know, with that, I think if Madam Mayor would allow me to, I would call for the question.
Would you consider an amendment, and that is that the $5,000 is payable upon receipt of audited financials?
I have no problems with that modification or amendment to my initial motion.
Second agrees, yes.
Okay. We have, now, and just to clarify, does your motion encompass both the 5,000 for IBEDC and a bump to 2,000 for the Film Commission?
From 2,000 to 2,500 for the Film Commission.
From 2,000 to 2,500, and from 1,000 to 5,000.
Yeah, and I believe that the City of Brawley's contribution to the Film Commission is 2,500, and that's kind of where I made that match.
Could I ask maybe also a mimic, would the council consider a $3,000 funding level to the Film Commission and a $4,500 level to IBC? Would you consider that?
Where are we going?
Well, if I may, the IVDC bylaws do not provide for a $4,500 membership.
Oh, yeah.
They're very specific in that, and they structured that for some reasons of, rather than trying to cut it, everyone have a different pricing and how the organization is structured.
I think what I'd like to see is the motion stay the same, but I would add this caveat is that prior to next year, we have a presentation from all three, and I know Mr. Silva's asked for SBDC because I personally I'm not sure what SBDC has done, and they might be doing great work. I just don't know what it is, and that's something that I've discussed with a few people and trying to figure out what contributions they've made to the community and specifically the city of El Centro. But have all three of these partners make a presentation to this council, specifically to the impacts that they've made to our city and our residents before any further funding for fiscal year 15-16.
I would draw my comment, Madam Mayor.
So, Ms.
What's the
Caldwell,
motion?
are you clear on the motion? The motion is to increase for fiscal year 2014-2015 the contribution to IBC to $5,000, I'm sorry, IBEDC to $5,000 upon presentation of an audited financial, and an increase to the Film Commission to $2,500, and for all agencies that we are sponsoring that before or during this fiscal year, that they make a presentation to this council with a specific focus on the economic benefits to the city of El Centro. Did I
Well
restate
stated.
that?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
well,
you.
we have a motion by Jackson, a second by Silva. All those in favor?
Aye.
With the modifications, I will accept.
Then, with that modification, are we in a position to adopt the fiscal year 2014-2015 budget as otherwise presented?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Jackson, second by Cardenas. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
If I may, I just wanted to make a comment. I do want to thank our Madam Mayor, and I appreciate your diplomacy in this. These are not easy decisions, and I do appreciate your leadership and appreciate all the work you do for our council.
With that motion Mel made, I'd like to make a comment. In my 35 years, I'm about ready to be recognized by the International City Managers Association, and having been a finance director, this is the finest document when it comes to citizen transparency. And I worked for the city of Phoenix, which is the 11th largest city.
It is a good
And I used to review these for 5 years of that early part of my career. My wife was a director for the city of Phoenix, and I've shared this with her. She looked through it. By the way, her cubicle mate back in those days is the consul budget analyst for San Diego, Angela Tevlin. And they're on the phone regularly, and San Diego actually is going to be asking for a copy because she reports directly to the consul. This goes well beyond what major metropolises are doing. This really is the issue of transparency, of showing your debt, showing where everything goes.
Exactly.
This is a rarity. Not unlike, going back, several years ago, you adopted an accounting manual. Seems pretty reasonable. It's so rare that the California Finance Associations, we got to see that, because while people do it in pieces, they never put it together in one place. And I want to so thank the entire finance department
Yes.
for
We're giving you
well
a standing
beyond
ovation.
anything that exists out there.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
All right, we do have an item number, we have two informational items, and then we have an added item, the MOU for our water treatment plant operators. If I could have a motion to approve that MOU.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Cardenas, second by Sanders. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. All right, no scheduled business for either the redevelopment agency or the housing agency. Additional public comments, no public comments. Let's combine task force reports and mayor and council member reports. Who would like to start?
I'll start. I'm just sorry, but I'm pretty excited. I just wanted to just briefly share, and I know there's a lot of activities going on with our elections today, but again, just, I just want to just talk about the leadership of our council. I attended a League of Cities dinner. Our Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Silva, is the president, and he is just doing an excellent job, and I just really appreciate his leadership and the fact that El Centro is representing the League of Cities there in that, and it's just great. I mean, Madam Mayor, what you've done and your leadership with our hospital, again, deserves recognition, and these are very difficult situations and challenges, and to see our council members step up is just very, very encouraging. Our police chief seems to be very popular in the newspaper. If he's not carrying a torch, he's waiting on tables at a tip a cop, and just so glad of the work and the community work from our police chief. So I do want to thank you. I've been spending a lot of time with our schools, with our elementary schools. Was able to be a judge at a gate contest at Sunflower. And again, we have some premier schools in our city, and we saw that today. I mean, when people talk about El Centro, they need to recognize that we do have premier schools here, and to be able to be a judge at this gate contest and see these fourth, fifth, and sixth graders talk about social influence and incorporate technology into their presentation, it's incredible. Just like this young lady who spoke here today, there's a bunch more in these other schools. And I think it's a testament to our teachers, to our superintendent at El Centro Elementary, and I just can't, overemphasize how important and our schools are and the job that they're providing. So we offer an excellent community, and in terms of our schools in those areas. We're still moving along with our city library as well. Looks like business has really picked up with our zip books. They're getting 2 to 3 requests a day now. So I know Dr. Ryan has shared that he ordered 2 books. He ordered one on Wednesday, and it was delivered to his home on Friday. So just incredible stuff, and a lot of exciting things happening, but things are just going very, very well, and just happy to be part of this team.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to report on several areas of interest, I hope, for this council. One, the AAA, which is the Area Agency on Aging, they're meeting, and they're continuing to look forward with addressing the needs of the senior population with health, transportation, and nutrition programs. The Joint Strike Fighter, I want to thank Mr. Duran for attending and then helping me out with that. Had their home basing, as you may know, we mentioned this at the league meeting. The EIS, the draft EIS certainly selected Lemoore, and it doesn't look very promising for us, but the members of the committee felt that one last-ditch effort was worthy, so they're going to write this letter, and hopefully it will get some attention. Law Enforcement Appreciation Day was held on at the Moose Lodge on May the 16th, so all law enforcement, we wanted to commend you for all the work that you do in this community, and especially in the county. Attended the funeral services or memorial services for Colleen Ludwig. My relationship with Colleen was very personal, and I enjoyed the pleasure of her company, so she will be missed. The tribute and naming of the stage for Marva Walker at Washington School was well attended. The mayor issued a proclamation to Ms. Walker for her 39 years of teaching at Washington School. It's Booker T. Washington School, not George Washington School. We, at the ICTC, approved our strategic plan, and of course, Mr. Baza was at the league meeting, so much of that information that we had accomplished there, he reiterated at the league meeting. This strategic plan, we are hoping to do a general assembly and have a strategic planning process. We have our budget in place, and it'll be up for approval at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sanders?
Yeah, thank you. It was a busy last couple of weeks. We all got to celebrate our colleague, Mr. Silva, receiving the Oatley Award, and I guess I didn't really realize how big of an award that was until I got online and read about it. And you're one of two in the entire United States for this year, so that's just a tremendous award and accolades to what you've done to this community, and I'm glad we were all there to celebrate that with you. Also, I think Mr. Cardenas referred to our chief, and some of our POA members participated in the Tip of Cop over at Chili's, and I think I saw you as I was leaving, the mayor, and I believe in speaking to the chief, I think today or yesterday, our department raised the most money for that out of all the kind of competition between all the different law enforcement agencies. I know Clexco had theirs at Applebee's, and I think Border Patrol and Highway Patrol were next door to us at the Famous Dave's, and so it was kind of a competition among local law enforcement agencies, and it was good to see us come out on top on that. As I stated earlier, I did accompany Mr. Kelly with a trip up to Irwindale and Rosewood. I think it was Rosemead. And met with some Chinese investors, and the meeting went very well, to the point that they then 3 days later decided to make a trip out here to the city of El Centro, and then we visited on Friday with our city manager and those folks. Also, along with our mayor and several of the council members, we attended the Memorial Day Monument groundbreaking out at the Imperial County Airport. Want to give a whole lot of props to a great young man, and I think we've seen him in the paper lately. Got an award for band at his graduation. I mean, he's just an all-around great kid, and he's going to be getting his Eagle Scout. Joaquin Villegas has put together, as a former Eagle Scout or as a current Eagle Scout, I guess once you're an Eagle Scout, you're always an Eagle Scout, right, Mr. John? So his project is a tremendous project. You just do not see Eagle Scout projects like that. When I was younger, I did what was deemed pretty impressive project myself, and mine doesn't come anywhere close to this. He's raised, I think, well over $100,000 to build this monument. He's got different businesses throughout this community to get on board and work on this project with him, and it's just a tremendous undertaking, and he's, I wish him well, and I think we're in the last part of that. I think he's going to succeed in getting this thing done. And then along with Mr. Silva and our mayor, we attended the, and Mr. Cardenas, we attended the Memorial Day down here on Main Street with the El Centro Elks, and so it's been a busy last couple weeks, but very exciting, and a lot of great events that we were able to take part in, so thank you.
First of all, I want to thank each and every council member for, as Mr. Jackson indicated, joining me for the Oatley Award 2 weeks ago on Friday. That was a very special day for me, and I was glad to share that with all of you there, and lots of friends that accompany me, people that I've known for a long time. My family was there, representing both my mom and dad who have passed away. My tias, my family, my brothers, my sisters, my friends. It was just an incredible night. So I was very, very pleased to share that with a lot of you guys here tonight. I'll just repeat, I was at the groundbreaking of the Veterans Memorial at the airport as well. A very special young man that I think is going to accomplish a lot. He's just getting started. The Memorial Day celebration by the Elks, I want to compliment the mayor for an outstanding speech that had some of us teary-eyed, and the poem that was read, that was perfect for the event. I did host my first league dinner, and I have to say it was fun. It's actually a fun event. I didn't know what to expect at all, but it was fun, great food, and I think that I was joking that people were there because of me, and I knew that they were there because of the town pump and the food that's served there. I have to say again, we all made comments yesterday at our joint meeting with the Community Services Commission, but that was a very gratifying day, and seeing all everything that's going on in terms of recreation and what's happening and future projects and where we are and the number of people involved, the commitment. I see Peter in the audience of the commissioners.
Yes.
For the improvement of the quality of life for our residents. That was very rewarding and gratifying to be able to see that. So thank you for that. And also, I was the keynote speaker for the graduation of the Young Entrepreneurs Academy that was hosted by the El Centro Chamber at IVC. That was also a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it just as much.
Thank you. Several of these things have been already mentioned, so I'll just breeze through them very quickly. We did have another community enhancement, some people think it's enforcement, community enhancement task force meeting on the 21st of May, and all of you will be provided with the minutes there. Some very exciting things, very important things being addressed. In particular, I think an item that the fire chief is working on. We hope for resolution on that very quickly. The Tippecop was a lot of fun. Chief Medueno, don't quit your day job. But it was a lot of fun to see everyone in kind of a different environment. And I had a chance to debrief with a bunch of folks at the Juvenile Justice Commission meeting on Monday, and they all said, "Wow, it's really difficult to be a server. You don't realize it until you kind of step into that role." Of course, the special event for Mr. Silva was awesome, and I think that the Mexican consulate and his wife, what gracious, wonderful people. Oh my gosh. Attend any event with them. The groundbreaking for the Imperial County Veterans Memorial, the Elks Day, the Elks Lodge Memorial Day event, very touching. Marva Walker, that was all of the thousands and thousands of lives that she has touched and improved. That stage dedication at Washington School was amazing. Later that same morning, I also attended the 90th anniversary birthday celebration for the Border Patrol, and was able to present a proclamation for the Border Patrol. The 29th, Mr. Duran and I attended the Regional Animal Shelter meeting. If there are others that would like to attend one of those meetings or one of the committee meetings, there's several committees that make up that stakeholder group. If you're interested, please let us know. The League dinner, you did an awesome job. Congratulations. The services for Colleen Ludwig, and then I saw in the paper that they lost another very prominent member of their community just recently as well. And then I do appreciate everyone's time last night. Jerry Britson's wife passed. The joint meeting last night with the Community Services Commission was outstanding. We are continuing to meet with regard to the hospital affiliation process. I would say that that's going well. Everybody keep your fingers crossed with regard to the essential air service. We may have additional news before the end of this month, and it's
Good news or bad news?
well, we don't know, but I cannot stress enough, to borrow one of Mr. Cardenas' phrases, cannot stress enough the importance of utilizing that air service, because if we lose it, it's gone, and we are not going to get it back. So let's go out there and celebrate everyone that had the wherewithal or not to run in this campaign cycle, and get ready to tear down a whole bunch of campaign signs tomorrow. I know. I'm actually voting for whoever gets their campaign signs down first. So anyway, thank you all for being here, and we will call it a day.
Meeting is adjourned.
Okay.